अस्सलाम वालेकुम बच्चों, कुछ दिन हम डिस्कस करेंगे फोटोसिंथेसिस पे। तो इस पे कुछ वीडियो सीरीज हम बनाएंगे। तो आज स्टार्ट करते हैं फोटोसिंथेसिस की डेफिनेशन से। फोटोसिंथेसिस लिटरली मीन्स synthesis with the help of light, and this synthesis is synthesis of food substances. So the synthesis of food with the help of light is called the photosynthesis. We are aware of this term and we know it from lower standards, fifth standard. तो तब से हम sorry ये जानते हैं कि photosynthesis का मतलब क्या है. But in lower classes we assign this photosynthesis just with plants, green plants. तो अब with a broader concept हम इस पे बात करेंगे. तो अब you are grown up children, तो अब हम कुछ ज़्यादा इस पे बात करेंगे और एक दूसरे तरीके से बात करेंगे. तो first of all, let us try to find a definition for this photosynthesis. We will define this photosynthesis as a photosynthesis is a remarkable natural physico-chemical process by which pigment containing cells, here pigments are the pigments like chlorophylls and other pigments, pigment containing cells convert inorganic raw material or inorganic substances into organic food substances with the help of light. With the help of light, and that is sunlight. Because as we know, sun is the prime source of energy. So this photosynthesis, it is a very remarkable process. It is a natural process and it is a physico-chemical process. And in this process, the cells which are possessing the pigments like chlorophyll and other pigments, carotenoids, xanthophylls, etc., they can convert the inorganic substances, that is inorganic raw material, into the organic food substances like carbohydrates with the help of sunlight. And this phenomena is called the photosynthesis. Now here, having a broader look over this photosynthesis, let us first try to understand what it means. Here, this means that here a living organism is able to manufacture its own food. So we know a living organism that can manufacture its own food is called an autotroph. So all autotrophs have the ability that they can manufacture their own food. But taking into consideration these autotrophs, we have two types of autotrophs. One group of autotrophs can use the sun's energy, that is solar radiations or sunlight, to manufacture the food or to do this process. So this group is called as photoautotrophs. Another group of living organisms, including some bacteria, they can use chemical energy, that is the energy from the chemical reaction. Those chemical reactions which are especially oxidation reactions, and they release energy, that is they are exothermic or exergonic reactions. This chemical energy is being utilized for the manufacturing of the food. Then these are then called as chemoautotrophs. So इस तरीके से हम यहाँ पर देख रहे हैं कि वो लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स जो अपना फूड खुद बना सकते हैं, these are called the autotrophs, and in this group we may include the green plants. We can include the blue-green algae, that is called the cyanobacteria, and there are some bacteria, they can manufacture their own food, so they are producers. Now these autotrophs, among these living organisms, like these green plants and these blue-green algae, they use sunlight for manufacturing the food, and some bacteria, they use sunlight for manufacturing the food, and these then are called as photoautotrophs. But there is a group of bacteria which are unable to capture the sunlight. They have not that ability that they can trap the solar radiation. Then instead, they can cause the chemical reactions to occur, oxidizing certain substances, and the energy released during these chemical reactions is used as the energy source for manufacturing of food, that is converting inorganic substances into organic food substances. These are called chemoautotrophs. Now, the process done by these living organisms, these are called the photoautotrophs. The phenomena by which they can produce their food is called the photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is the ability of only photoautotrophs by which they can manufacture their own food. Now here, the ability of these chemoautotrophs to produce food with the help of chemical energy, and the process is called the chemosynthesis. So here, as a grown-up children, now you can know what is the difference between photosynthesis and chemosynthesis, and what the types of autotrophs, that is the photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Now here, this chemosynthesis means here that chemical energy is being used. So first, let us take this and then we will discuss elaborately the photosynthesis. Now here, this chemosynthesis is performed by some bacteria. Let us take an example of nitrifying bacteria. You have read during the diversity chapter, when we were studying the diversity, at that time we learned that there is one group of bacteria which use the chemical energy for food synthesis. तो इनमें हमने नाइट्रीफाइंग बैक्टीरिया का जिक्र किया था. नाइट्रीफाइंग बैक्टीरिया, जैसे कि एग्जांपल के तौर पर मैं यहां पर लूंगा नाइट्रोसोमोनास, नाइट्रोसोकोकस, इसी तरीके से नाइट्रोबैक्टर या नाइट्रोसिस्टस, ये नाइट्रीफाइंग बैक्टीरियाज है. Now these Nitrosomonas and Nitrosococcus, they oxidize ammonium NH4 positive ions, and the oxidation of these ammonium results in the formation of nitrite. Now this nitrite is produced in the environment, so these are also called nitrite bacteria. So there is energy liberation during this reaction, and that energy is used by these autotrophs to manufacture their food. So this is an example of chemosynthesis. Now again, this nitrite is then acted upon by these nitrate bacteria, that is Nitrobacter and Nitrocystis. They oxidize it into nitrate. Now the ammonium is converted into nitrate, by these nitrite bacteria, nitrites, and this nitrite is then converted into nitrate by nitrate bacteria. So these reactions do release energy, and that energy is captured by these bacteria to manufacture their own food. So these are chemosynthetic bacteria, and the phenomena is known as chemosynthesis, and these are called the chemoautotrophs. Now we will try to understand about the photosynthesis performed by these photoautotrophs. Now photoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs perform the photosynthesis. With the help of sunlight, they can convert inorganic substances or inorganic raw material into the organic food substances. Now these photoautotrophs, they include green plants, they include blue-green algae, that is cyanobacteria, these are prokaryotes, and also some photosynthetic bacteria. The photosynthesis performed by these living organisms differs from each other. First, taking into consideration the photosynthesis performed by blue-green algae and the plants, that is green plants. Now here, as we know, photosynthesis means conversion of inorganic substances into the organic food substances with the help of light, and this light, that is the sunlight, is captured by chemical substances having the ability to absorb sunlight called pigments. There are different types of pigments which we will discuss in the later videos. Now here, inorganic substances are converted into the organic food substance. Remember, the important inorganic substance is the carbon dioxide, and we may say that this is carbon dioxide which is converted into the organic food substances, that is the carbohydrates. Try to understand. फिर से मैं बोल दूं, यहाँ पर फोटोऑटोट्रॉफ्स लाइट यूज करते हैं इनऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंसेस को कन्वर्ट करने के लिए ऑर्गेनिक फूड सब्सटेंसेस में. इनमें होते हैं स्पेशल पिगमेंट्स for the photosynthesis called the photosynthetic pigments. These are simply chemical substances. They have the ability that they can trap the sunlight. Now here, the inorganic substances, that is the carbon dioxide, is here being converted into food substance, that is carbohydrate, in presence of light with the help of these pigments. So in other words, we can say here that this carbon dioxide is fixed into the carbohydrates. This is called the carbon fixation. Now in other words, we can say this carbon dioxide is being reduced to carbohydrates. That is, the carbon dioxide is reduced to carbohydrates, and this can only be done with the help of a reducing substance. Now depending on the reducing substance used, photosynthesis would be of two types. Now green plants and the blue-green algae use water as a reducing substance to produce or to fix carbon dioxide to carbohydrates, or to reduce carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. Now here, these pigments absorb the sunlight. With the help of that absorbed energy, this water is being separated, and the electrons and the protons released from the water generate the assimilatory power or the reducing power. That means these hydrogens produced from the water are being given to this carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide gets converted into the carbohydrate like glucose, that is C6H12O6. So अब अगर हम elaborately ये chemical reaction लें जो plants और blue green algae में होगी, that is carbon dioxide combines with water. It has been now found that 6 molecules of carbon dioxide combine with 12 molecules of water, and in presence of sunlight and in presence of photosynthetic pigments, it produces the carbohydrate glucose C6H12O6, giving back the 6 molecules of water and liberates 6 molecules of oxygen. So when there is split or photolysis of this water to produce the hydrogen, that is the protons, these hydrogens then reduce this carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. Now here, during this split, the oxygen is released from this water, and so during this photosynthesis there is evolution of oxygen, and this type of photosynthesis is called oxygenic photosynthesis. So the green plants and blue-green algae perform photosynthesis, and that type of photosynthesis is oxygenic photosynthesis. In this photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide is reduced to carbohydrates with the help of a reducing substance, and the reducing substance is water. Remember this, here the water is split with the help of the sunlight that is absorbed by these chemical pigments, and the hydrogen is liberated, reduce this carbon dioxide to carbohydrates, and during this process oxygen is liberated as the byproduct. तो यहाँ पर बहुत जो lower classes में हम definitions लेते हैं photosynthesis की, that the photosynthesis is the process in which carbon dioxide and water combines in presence of sunlight and water, sunlight and photosynthetic pigments to produce carbohydrates and evolve oxygen as a byproduct. Now, as compared to this, in comparison to this, we will take another type of photosynthesis. There is a group of organisms which are known as usually photosynthetic bacteria, and these photosynthetic bacteria also possess the pigment substances like bacteriochlorophylls or chlorobium chlorophylls. So they have the ability to trap the sunlight, but these photosynthetic bacteria are anaerobic. As you know, anaerobic are those organisms which can live in absence of air or oxygen. The oxygen is toxic for them. So if these photosynthetic bacteria would use water as a reducing substance, then there would be liberation of oxygen in their environment, and that oxygen would be fatal for them, and that would become poisonous for them. So instead of water, they would like to use other substances which are reducing substances, like we will take an example of hydrogen sulfide. So they also convert carbon dioxide, or they also reduce carbon dioxide, but in presence of hydrogen sulfide, that is H2S. So here if we will take this reaction, this process, that would be 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 12 molecules of hydrogen sulfide. In presence of sunlight, same, they can harvest this sunlight. In presence of photosynthetic pigments, the pigments are different from the pigments of the plants and the blue-green algae, and they can produce the carbohydrate, that is the glucose C6H12O6, and produce 6 molecules of water, and also they would precipitate 12 sulfur molecules. So here, in a state of evolution of oxygen, sulfur is being precipitated. So these organisms, these photosynthetic bacteria, they perform the photosynthesis, but this photosynthesis is not evolving oxygen as a byproduct. So this photosynthesis is called anoxygenic. N means not, anoxygenic photosynthesis. So here we now come to know about the two types of photosynthesis, that is oxygenic photosynthesis and anoxygenic photosynthesis, and we are now able to differentiate between the two. Now we will take the magnitude of the photosynthesis. So students, during this part of lecture, we come to learn that photosynthesis is a very remarkable natural and physical chemical process now occurring on this planet. Now we learned about the Photoautotrophs, Chemoautotrophs. We learned about the chemosynthesis, and we also learned about the two types of photosynthesis, that is oxygenic and anoxygenic. Now we will take in our next video the magnitude of photosynthesis. Thank you very much.